crypto, policy, and political experts to discuss the industry's unified effort to ensure that the voice of crypto is heard on the campaign trail and at the ballot box in 2024. This past Monday, Fair Shake, a super PAC dedicated to supporting the transformative potential of crypto, as well as advancing leaders poised to champion innovation and support responsible regulation for the digital age, announced a substantial $78 million raised in Q4 of 2023. That fundraising was made possible by dozens of responsible leaders and companies in crypto and blockchain, including Coinbase, Andreessen Horowitz, Paradigm, Ripple, Kraken, and many more. The fundraising effort, which ranks within the country's top 20 PAC fundraising efforts heading into an election year, as compared to 2020 fundraising data, is part of an industry-wide activation to help put America at the forefront of the next generation of financial innovation. Crypto can update the financial system and increase economic freedom for everyone, but it's essential that we elect leaders who understand this potential and support policies and regulations that are responsible, fair, and innovation forward. Fair Shake and its affiliated partners will amplify the crypto grassroots movement that is already gaining steam through Stand with Crypto. And we're excited to share more details about Stand with Crypto with one of our guests, so we will get to that soon. And before I introduce everybody, I should introduce myself. I'm Kara Calvert, the head of U.S. policy here at Coinbase, and so excited to be sharing all of this information with you today and look forward. Please, as always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if you want to speak directly with any of us. We are always happy and willing and available. So today I'm going to introduce the three of our guests. John Anzalone is one of the nation's top political pollsters and messaging strategist and a veteran of many presidential and congressional elections. Most recently, he was the polling expert for the 2020 Biden campaign and led efforts for President Obama and Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. We are very lucky to have him as a member of the Coinbase Global Advisory Council. So thank you, John. Appreciate you being here. Lauren Bullitt is the head of U.S. policy and government at Ripple, and is also a campaign and government veteran, having worked for the Obama administration and on the Hill prior to heading up corporate government affairs for a number of tech and financial innovation startups. We're super excited to have her expertise here as she has lived through this fight, not only now in crypto, but in multiple lives past. And Nick Carr is the chief strategist at Stand with Crypto. Nick Carr is also a veteran when it comes to working in politics, working in campaigns. He got his start in Florida politics and has continued to just shine and wow folks as he has taken on the role at Stand with Crypto. So with that, again, appreciate everybody being here, and let's get started. So everyone here has a unique experience with the government or political campaign work. I really want to hear from each of you about the impact you think Fair Shake can have on the ongoing grassroots efforts underway by this industry. So John, we'll just do a quick around the horn. John, can you kind of talk about the impact you think this might have? And then we'll go to Lauren and then to Nick.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think to put it in perspective about the potential power and voices of crypto owners is how big they are. When we, Nick and I have been through a lot of campaign fights on different sides, but the reality is we're always looking for swing voters, people who can be persuaded or will listen to what the candidates have to say. And the fact that crypto owners make up about 1 of 5, so 20% of all voters, is a huge universe to be able to target if you're a candidate, Democrat or Republican, for Congress, for governor, for president, for wherever. And the fact is that this is a group that is also kind of hard to reach, and also one that is up for grabs. They're disproportionately young. 30% of this universe is people of color, African American, Latino, AAPI. But maybe more important and tantalizing if you're a candidate is that they're rabidly independent. They're not Democrat or Republican, and this issue or the issues that surround crypto are not Democrat or Republican. They should be bipartisan. So you see an opportunity for not only crypto owners to have a voice in elections. You can also see candidates having a big universe of voters to be able to go and talk to and engage. And that is really important because, as we know, 2/3 of Americans and 2/3 of crypto owners, believe that the global financial system is just not fair, and it's not fair to them, and they don't feel a part of it. And so there's really important issues to be able to engage with these voters, and they're very persuadable, and they're a big swing universe. And so it's exciting, the power they potentially will have if they get engaged, and it's exciting, I think, on the candidate level, for them to be able to engage in a conversation with these important swing voters.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, John. Lauren, how do you feel about the impact of this activity?
Thanks, Kara, and thank you for the opportunity to join this amazing group to discuss a very important and timely subject. Going into this election year, it is critical that the grassroots movement pushes for innovation and responsible regulation in crypto, and it is heard in Washington. Legislation that supports innovation and regulatory clarity is essential. And as John just said, we're not picking one political party over another. We're going to be supporting a leader in Congress who is poised to be a champion on how innovation can benefit their constituents and who thinks critically on how to navigate the complexities of regulation in the digital age. Ripple has always engaged with policymakers at a global scale. And with the industry's growing presence, this activity is going to be even more important now than ever. Continued education and collaboration is key and is critical. It is critical that policymakers understand that the industry is here to ensure financial regulations are successfully adapted into new technologies. Ultimately, our hope is that by supporting these leaders, Congress will emerge with a clear regulatory and legal framework that will allow the blockchain economy to grow into its full potential.
Nick, you want to share your thoughts with us?
Well, first, Kara, thank you for having all of us. And John and Lauren, I feel like really hit the nail on the head. But I'll just add, taking a step back, it's really remarkable, when you take a step back to look at $78 million raised is an incredible feat. And I think it just goes to show you that the 52 million Americans who own crypto are paying attention. Crypto will be on the ballot in 2024 and probably the most consequential election cycle for crypto we've ever seen. And the crypto community as a whole is decentralized, and you're seeing this locking of arms across the industry and the entire community, showing that we're engaged, we're paying attention into what our policymakers are doing and not doing on both sides of the aisle, focusing on crypto and their role on either expanding or limiting innovation in the U.S. So I think it's a really exciting 2024, and I think it's going to be by far the most consequential election we've ever seen for the crypto industry.
Absolutely. I think 2024, we thought 2022 was a curveball, and then 2023 got even more exciting. Hold on to your hats, folks, for 2024. So, John, you are our resident campaign expert on this call. And as we think about $78 million, can you put that in context for us? What does that actually mean? What does that type of commitment from this growing list of companies and of individuals, what does that mean in today's kind of political landscape?
Well, it means political muscle, right? Communicating is everything in campaigns. And Nick can check me on this, but I mean, at 78 million, it would immediately put this independent expenditure being involved in congressional races, et cetera, probably in one of the top 10 largest independent expenditures in America, making sure again that the message and of crypto owners and the voices of crypto owners are heard. And I think that's really what independent expenditures are all about, whether it's on the Democratic side, the independent or Republican side, independent side, or special interest side, right? I mean, AARP does, all different type of organizations spend money to make sure that their story is told. And I think that really is important here, is that this is a new industry, but it's also one that's really important, as we know some of the issues, right? Making sure that these jobs don't go overseas, making sure that there's guardrails and regulations that the industry wants, making sure that web programmers, et cetera, don't go to other industries. So there's a lot of opportunities here, and part of the muscle is just telling the story. of not only crypto owners, but of the industry itself, because it's so new.
Yeah, and just to stick on that for a second, as we think about crypto and the work that's being done for this grassroots advocacy with all the work Nick is doing on Stand with Crypto, we're seeing it bubble up in other places. It feels like it truly is one of the last bipartisan issues in Washington, and dare I even say not nonpartisan in some instances. When you have $78 million sitting there, are you able, is the natural intention to politicize things, or do we depoliticize this issue by looking to both sides? How do you think about depoliticizing or making this bipartisan?
Yeah, again, I'll just real quick and maybe pass it to Nick. So we do a bipartisan dance here. But again, I would say depoliticize. Again, a super majority of crypto owners are independents. So they start out in a space where they want Democrats and Republicans to work together on all issues, but especially this issue. And their antennae are up in terms of where reform will go, et cetera. But this is very much about it depoliticizing and again telling the story about what their concerns are in this space.
Nick, do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think John hit the nail on the head. I think this, crypto is bipartisan. We see it in all the numbers. I mean, it's a decentralized issue, right? It's not red or blue. It's crypto, right? And John hit the nail on the head. I think this investment, I'll even go a step further. I know this investment, the 78 million, is within the country's probably top 20 efforts for fundraising efforts ever going into an election year. For the nation. So I think you're seeing this bipartisan nature of the entire industry and community come together to make it clear that we're paying attention and crypto will be on the ballot in 2024. And this top 20 independent expenditure spend is a remarkable feat that has never been seen before.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting when we think about what's happening in terms of all of the, the 200,000 people that have joined Stand with Crypto. And I dare say, if you ask those folks, where do they fall on the political spectrum, you'd get somebody from the very furthest left to the very furthest right and everywhere in between. And I think that that's a really unique group of people. Lauren, given that, I want to turn to you about when you have this political apparatus now really coming together. You're day in, day out on the ground here in Washington, working with these lawmakers and with these administration officials. You've worked on the Hill, you've worked for the administration. How does this impact your day-to-day lobbying? What does this look like in terms of, or does it? Is it, do you still do you focus on the substance? How does it impact your day-to-day activities here in Washington?
Thanks, Kara. I have spent my career going into scaling emerging industries that drive the need to be defined by comprehensive regulation. It's kind of like that Wayne Gretzky quote, you need to skate where the puck is going. And the government needs to skate where the puck is going in order to be prepared to foster innovation of the future. We all have known for a long time that the crypto industry needs clear rules of the road to foster American innovation, keep consumers safe, and allow for the continued growth around these technologies. The global crypto market and blockchain market have experienced its fair share overall of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And a large part of this comes from the unpredictable regulation by enforcement by agencies like the SEC. What I'm seeing now is that more and more policymakers on the Hill are beginning to see that the crypto industry needs those clear rules of the road. And importantly, that those rules need to come through legislative, not legal means. What crypto users and those of us in the industry need to continue to communicate is that we need regulatory frameworks that are simple, predictable, consistent, and clear. And regulations provide a credible framework for crypto to safely innovate and grow and build the confidence in its utility. And those clear regulations should keep bad actors out and keep the market fair and safe for participants, but without smothering innovation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I want to pick up on something you just said, though, about the regulation by enforcement. And Ripple has been in the crosshairs for a while now. And you had a big win this year. And I think that it was validating, I think, to the idea that there are a lot of people in the industry committed to the rule of law, committed to making sure that, that our agencies follow the same requirements that we expect of everybody else. And so can you maybe talk just for a minute about the Ripple case and what happened this year in the court decision?
Absolutely. So the SEC versus Ripple ruling this past July was a big step in the right direction for regulatory clarity, but there still needs to be a more effective alternative to regulation by enforcement or litigation. As I said earlier, the SEC has pursued a strategy of regulation by enforcement as a power play to exert jurisdiction over an entire space when Congress has not granted them that power. The problem with regulation by enforcement is that there is an overreach that is chaotic, it's unpredictable and unclear. And the crypto industry can't innovate effectively in that environment. And as a result, a lot of the crypto talent and companies have actually left the US due to this. Meanwhile, you look at the global landscape, we've seen the EU, Singapore, Japan, Brazil, the UAE, they take progressive legislative steps to provide regulatory clarity and guidelines to develop a really healthy market. A great example is MiCA regulations. And so, frankly, the U.S., I fear, is falling behind as a place for innovation and a place for job development. And going forward, ensuring a well-defined regulatory framework in the U.S. will be instrumental in supporting responsible innovation and continued development within the crypto industry. And Congress, is the only government body with the authority and the capability to really create that framework.
Yeah, when we think about innovation moving overseas and how truly the regulation by enforcement is impacting companies of all sizes, it's really remarkable. And I think, Nick, you've been on the front lines of this and have been helping to bring and to facilitate the welcoming, I think, or maybe translating between what some of these builders are doing out in the States and what policymakers are thinking here in Washington. You've done a couple of fly-ins. You've made sure that you have these job creators talking directly to policymakers. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing, the vision of your founder fly-ins, and the vision of Stand with Crypto and some of the wins you've had this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'll back up a little bit. And since launching Stand with Crypto in August, we've already seen over 215,000 individuals sign up and over 80,000 individuals donate, small dollar donations. And, of course, as you're talking with the fly-ins, we had our Stand with Crypto Day back in September where we had 50 founders from 15 different states meet with over 40 offices on Capitol Hill on both sides of the aisle, really showing and telling the story of crypto firsthand. The 52 million Americans coming together, meeting with their policymakers, and talking about how they're building and iterating in their own districts and states. And so separately, we've had in-person events in Georgia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And just last week, we held the first in the nation bipartisan crypto presidential forum, really a historic moment for the entire crypto community. So it's been a remarkable 2023. And in 2024, we're not stopping. We're going to continue to tell the story of the 52 million Americans who own crypto, the founders who are building, innovating, creating jobs. So expect to see more engagement with policymakers, more fly-ins from different states, more activations across the nation, and expect to see the Stand with Crypto movement grow as we push towards a goal of 1 million crypto advocates. So I really encourage anyone listening on this call to join the movement at standwithcrypto.org and be a part of the 2024 movement.
Yeah, when we talk about 52 million people who own crypto, that's a very large number. That's 20% of the population, and that can amount to real votes and to be a real voting bloc. And John, this is again your area of expertise. What does that mean when you have a group of 52 million people that maybe not everybody is a single issue voter, but they certainly care about the money in their pocket and on their phone and in their, in their wallet. And so can you talk about what that kind of voting bloc looks like for 2024 and how it might impact over the course of the next 8 months leading up to the election, how that might impact policy?
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to just 2020 or 2022. 2022 is a great example of the number of close races there were in the U.S. Senate and the House. I mean, if you take a look at, states like Georgia, states like Arizona, If you take a look at the fact that, literally just a handful of seats determined the control of the House between Democrats and Republicans. Same thing in the U.S. Senate. So we are in a divided nation. We're in a 50-50 nation. When you take a look at all of the kind of what we would call battleground swing congressional districts in America and ask a simple question, are you more likely to vote for a Democrat or Republican? It's 44-44. So that's how close we are. We've been in 2016, 2020 presidential elections decided by a very few amount of votes. So again, the power of 20% of voters in congressional races, in Senate races, quite frankly, in legislative races. There's 10 legislative chambers across the country at the state level that are decided by just a couple seats. So you get the picture here of how powerful a group this large can be in making sure that their voice is known.
And John, just to stay on this for a minute, when we start to think about how much elections are costing in America, everywhere from your local mayor's race all the way up to the Senate and the presidential, we're talking about unprecedented numbers when it comes to the cost of these elections. One question for you. When we think about raising this money, right, the $78 million, and then the millions that are going to stand with crypto, how important is it for these grassroots, for individuals to engage and to participate at either a donation level or contribution or showing up to town halls? Like, do small dollars still matter? I know that was something that was big in 2020. How much do the small dollars matter right now?
So it's a great question because, there's a lot of big checks written in politics. And hey, that's one of the turnoff about politics of real voters, right? And the reality is that the combined strength and muscle of small donors is actually a bigger voice than large donors, meaning that politicians, elected officials, candidates pay a lot of attention to the small donors, especially when they come together and they group together to show strength. And so there's a lot of attention paid to small donors. It started in 2008 with Barack Obama, but it can be also, there's also other examples on the Republican side, and there's also other examples, with individual type of issues. I mean, we've seen in the last several cycles the power of a referendum on abortion rights or on medical marijuana and things like that. And so, again, races in America in the last decade have been very close. And so if you have a combined group as big as crypto owners, both marching with their votes, but also marching with their pocketbooks with small donor contributions, it's going to get noticed.
And I know we're inching up on time here, but I just have one more question for you, John. Is if you had to identify what the single most important thing that all these listeners can do to make their voice heard, is it donations? Is it showing up? Is it calling their congressman? From your perspective as both a pollster and as just a longtime campaign veteran, if people have 5 minutes, what's the most important thing that they do with that 5 minutes?
I think, listen, first of all, you got to register to vote, right? And you got to make sure you're registered to vote and that you haven't been taken off the voter file. The fact is that, voting is power, and taking that 30 minutes, 40 minutes to vote is incredibly powerful. And then, of course, I think, secondly, is a small donor contribution. And the third, to the extent that, people are willing to engage at a different level, is some type of engagement. That could be volunteering for a campaign. You can, from the comfort of your own home, make calls or make text messages to other voters for candidates who support your issues. You can go down to a campaign office. But there's a lot of things that you can do to engage in a campaign now that isn't the old style campaigning of going door to door. You can sit there with the power of your phone and your computer and really connect with a lot of people.
Well, and Nick, it seems like I was just on the Stand with Crypto website, and it seems like that's exactly what you all are striving to do, is to provide those easy tools to engage. Can you talk a little bit about why you think the time is now to create a crypto native online experience for all of these advocates?
Yeah, Kara, and I mean, if anyone goes to stanwithcrypto.org, you have access to those easy to use call maker, email makers straight to your policymakers through one click system, so anyone can be engaged. And really, this is the time. I mean, you're seeing it through the $78 million, the 215,000 plus individuals that have signed up on Stand with Crypto. The crypto community in the U.S. is engaged. They are paying attention. They are focused. They are organized, and they are prepared to make their voices heard in 2024. So really, if you have 5 minutes, like John said, make sure you're registered. Go to standwithcrypto.org. You can join in under 5 minutes. You can make a call and email in under 5 minutes. So really, if you want to be involved, I encourage every single person listening here to go to standwithcrypto.org. Get ready for 2024. We are united. We are mobilizing. We are ready to engage in 2024, and we will be making our voices heard in 2024.
And Lauren, I'm going to end with you here. Do those calls really matter to policymakers? Do they pay attention when you call their Washington D.C. office to tell them you care about the Fit 21, the market structure bill, or stablecoin legislation? Do they listen and care?
Oh, Kara, absolutely. I think all politics are local, and it really is a grassroots movement. And the more that you can grow the chorus of voices on this subject, the more that elected officials will be inclined to listen. So I don't think I can echo that enough. I think it's very important to be involved in the process. Every voice matters. Every vote matters. So absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, this has been incredible. I could talk about this all day long. As many of you know, I do, and in fact, I do talk about this all day long. But I hope that everybody had the opportunity to learn a little bit about the vision and about why this is important for 2024. Why all of your engagement is so critical to moving forward and pushing smart policy forward. And one thought that I would just share going out here is I heard somebody today say you can be pro-liberal, pro-conservative, pro-independent, pro-consumer, pro-innovation, pro-crypto, and it can all lead you back to the exact same place, which is we need rules that make it safe and trusted to engage in the crypto economy. And it's really incumbent on our policymakers to create those pro-innovation, pro-consumer rules that span across parties. And that, I think, is something that we can all embrace. And we look to all of you to help us in this fight, and really look forward to having these continued conversations. Again, just continue to extend the invitation. Please feel free to reach out to any of us with ideas. Feel free to reach out to us if there are events that you want to host in your district, or asking policymakers to come meet with you. And creating that kind of grassroots army, I think, is really going to change the trajectory next year. And we are always happy to help you understand how to do that, give you the tools you might need to help scale this across the country in a really meaningful way. So with that, again, thank you all to our guests for participating. Your expertise is so valuable, and we look forward to talking to you on the next one. Bye-bye.